I hereby call this meeting, Norwood City Council, to order. Please rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance. This evening we have Minister Bomahi
Tahimba, thank you.
Tahimba?
Yes,
Pastor.
thank you. Thank you for this opportunity. I bring you greetings from Corinthian Baptist Church, where my pastor, KG Smith, is our leader. Let us bow. We thank you, God, for another day to praise you and to worship your holy name. We worship you as Creator God, Omnipotent God, Omniscient God, and Omnipresent God. We ask for your blessing over this meeting tonight. We ask that you bless this Norwood City Council body, the mayor, and all the leadership of this city in whatever capacity that they may serve, and their families. Guide this council body, Lord, in all that they do. May they lead with excellence, make decisions that are both right and righteous. Bless the city of Norwood, its residents, and all those in attendance. Keep them safe while here and as they leave to return home. It's in the name of our Lord and Savior Jesus the Christ we pray. Let us all say amen.
Amen. Now pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Gears, please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Here.
Mrs. Hoover.
Here.
Ms. Royce.
Here.
Mr. Kelsch.
Here.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Here.
Mr. Thompson.
Here.
Mr. Braden.
Here. All members present. Moving on to amendment of agenda. We have two items this evening. We're adding a resolution for then and now purchase order, and that will be item L4. I believe you have a copy of that. And also, we are moving item L3, resolution honoring Lieutenant Ronald Murphy, to right after the approval of the minutes. Mr. Brady.
Thank you, Mr. President. Move that we amend the agenda as stated.
Motion by Mr. Brady. Mr. Kelsch.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kelsch. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelsch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the motion passes. Moving on to item F, minutes of previous meeting, April 26, 2022. Mrs. Hoover.
Move to approve the minutes as of read.
Motion by Mrs. Hoover. Mr. Thompson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Thompson. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelsch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the motion passes. Moving on to item L3, the resolution honoring Lieutenant Ronald Murphy. Mr. Thompson.
I would move we have all three readings of the resolution with the first in its entirety.
Motion by Mr. Thompson to have all three readings, the first one in its entirety. May I have a second? Mr. Brady.
Second.
Second by Mr. Brady. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelsch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye. The motion passes. Mr. Gears.
Resolution honoring Lieutenant Ronald Murphy. Whereas on April 29, 1996, Lieutenant Ron Murphy joined the Norwood Police Department after service as a dispatcher for the village of Gulf Manor. And whereas on July 28, 2002, Ron Murphy was promoted to sergeant. And whereas on December 15, 2010, Ron Murphy was promoted to lieutenant. And whereas Ron Murphy has served as a bike patrol officer, bringing his friendly countenance closer to the people of Norwood. And whereas Ron Murphy has served as the community liaison and public information officer, offering information to citizens, news media, and city officials. And whereas Chief William Kramer reports that Ron Murphy has received too many commendations to list. And whereas Ron Murphy has been active in a wide variety of initiatives, including Pigs and Pins, Shop with a Cop, Fill a Cruiser, Citizens on Patrol, and whereas has been involved with a variety of community groups, including Woven Oak Initiatives and ASAP Norwood, and whereas Lieutenant Ron Murphy is retiring on May 6, 2022 from the Norwood Police Department after long and valuable service. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the City of Norwood, Ohio, Section 1, this resolution symbolizes the deep respect, sincere appreciation, and profound thanks that the members of council, the administration, all employees of the City of Norwood, and the citizens of Norwood have for Ron Murphy's benevolence, spirit, friendship, and tireless efforts to improve the lives of the people of Norwood. Resolution honoring Lieutenant Ronald Murphy. Resolution honoring Lieutenant Ronald Murphy.
Mr. Brady.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to move that we pass the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Brady to pass the resolution. Mrs. Hoover.
I second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Mr. Thompson?
I'd like to ask Mr. Murphy to come up to the podium so that we can stare at him standing there.
Please do.
Yeah, please do.
We moved it. Mr. Thompson?
Yeah, Ron, I just wanted to say thanks for everything you've done for the police and the community, and I think you're one of the first people I remember meeting when I moved to this town. I guess it sticks with me because you're a police officer, but also thank you for being a friend all this time, and good luck to you in everything that you do.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Mrs. Franz?
I'd also like to thank Mr. Murphy for all of his help with the 5K. Without your help, it never would have gotten off the ground running, pun intended. And I appreciate everything else you do for the community. I know it's going to be real different without you there at the police station.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Mrs. Hoover?
I just want to say I've really enjoyed our conversations. You've always taken my calls. You've been so thoughtful, considerate. You're such a community asset. You're leaving really, really big shoes to fill. You have been a real asset to the city, and I'm gonna miss you.
Thank you, appreciate it, thank you very much.
Mr. Brady?
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Murphy, someone who's been here in Norwood your entire career. I've watched you, and I've appreciated your even keel, and your commitment to excellence in community safety, and we're not going to be the same without you, and we appreciate you very much. Good luck in the future, sir.
I appreciate it, thank you, yeah, thanks.
Mr. Kels?
Thank you, Mr. President. Lieutenant Murphy, so you joined the police department when I was 9. And I just remember you being a police officer all my childhood, knowing several members of your family. It's clear kind of, what cloth you're cut from. I think you've done a great job in your career, and I wish you the best of luck on the next chapter of your life with your family.
Thank you, I appreciate it, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Kels. Anyone else? Thank you, Lieutenant Murphy, and good luck on your honey-do list, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very long and distinguished.
But I really do appreciate it, thank you. This was a great honor, to have a resolution passed, so I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Susan.
Moving on to request to address council. We have a motion on the floor.
Yeah. Braden.
Pass it.
Don't do it. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelsch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the resolution passes. Moving on to item H. This evening we have Catherine Torrin Jones, the branch manager of the Norwood Public Library. If you'll please come forward. Good evening.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you so much for having me this evening. My name is Catherine. I'm the branch manager at the library right up the street. I've been with the library for almost 15 years now. And when I became the branch manager on a beautiful March day, on a Monday in March of 2020, and the world shut down 5 days later. So I've been playing catch up, getting out to know people since we were constrained in our movements and activities for the pandemic. But here I am, and I'm so glad to be here. I wanted to offer up a small snapshot of what we've been doing up at the library to emerge from the pandemic and help the community and just be supportive of all of our customers who I see in the room right now. And a little statistics, because statistics makes me glaze over in general, but we have over 6,000 active customers in our Norwood demographic, so we're really excited about that. We are hoping to get back to pre-pandemic numbers, throughout this year coming up, and we have a lot of cool things that we have planned for families and adults and kids to draw people back out and participate with us. I have had a chance in the last year to attend Norwood Community Coalition meetings, community council meetings, where I met some of you. The Norwood Senior Center, I have a book club there every month. I go hang out with those ladies over there. We visit the Youthland Academy, Head Start. We do have a partnership with Play and Learn, so they're now in our building twice a month and supporting early literacy and childhood development that way. And on a fun note, we did participate in the Norwood Parade last year and the Christmas Town, so that was fun, and we want to continue doing things like that to get ourselves out there and get to know more people. We have been approved to have a booth this year at the Off-Pike Market, and we're really looking forward to that. We'll bring our button maker and all of our tchotchkes and our flyers and everything librarians love to haul around and share with people. We also are planning on some new partnerships that we've just developed this year. We are partnering with the Hamilton County Quick Response Team. They come to our branch twice a month. They set up and they are just there to listen and support people who may be struggling with addiction problems or homelessness or any kind of crisis. They provide a listening ear, but they also provide practical materials such as Narcan and hygiene kits and things of that nature. I think they've been able to reach out to over 200 customers through the library connection. We became a national safe place and participated in the Action Network Voter Registration Day. So we're trying to branch out and really make connections in the community and organizations that are sharing our mission or parts of our mission. We have Umc Food Ministry, so every day after school from 3 to 3:30 we have food for the kids. Anyone 18 and under can come and get a free meal or snack. It's a shelf-stable food. We had some fun things going on with the Norwood Maker Collective, although they've kind of, I think they're on pause right now, but we did some programs with them. Yoga with Christine. I found a yoga instructor from Hyde Park who was looking for somewhere to get out of the winter elements, and she came and did a bunch of yoga programs for us for adults. So we've been really busy down the street. If you haven't stopped in for a while, which I know a lot of you are customers, I can recognize you. If not, come and see us. We do have a new position I'd like to just mention. We have a monitor mentor position. So this year we moved away from having a contracted security person at our branch, and we hired someone who is there to monitor the branch, but also to mentor the kids and the young people, and just to help with adults as well who might have issues that they are trying to work through and to make sure that any behaviors that are inappropriate for the library can be redirected in a positive way. We're moving away from, trying to avoid punitive measures or that sort of thing with the monitor mentor. He's a really great guy. He works with, an organization that is at the school. So he's familiar with a lot of the kids, and he does gaming programs with them, and they talk to him like crazy. You wouldn't believe it. He's just a magnet for young people. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that we are so very grateful for our customers at Norwood. The library system has a foundation. The Library Foundation has a program called Befriend a Branch. And through that program, you can make a donation directly to the Norwood branch and specifically for certain earmarks, I guess you would say. And this past year, we've had many, many generous donations. And one of the families donated quite a nice sum of money to do programming. So this summer, we are having the Cincinnati Circus come twice, once for a magic show, once for a carnival, face painting and balloon twisting and the whole 9 yards. We have a lot of really fun things planned. So if you would like details, I can email them to the clerk and he can maybe help us spread the word. Did anyone have any questions for me while I'm here?
Any questions?
All right, well,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
so much for your time, and I look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Elevations is there, yeah. Every Monday and Wednesday. You count on that.
Next, we had a request to speak from Elena Hammock. I don't see her here. Is she here? There she is. Prior to you speaking, Mrs. Hammock, we have a letter that Mr. Gears, our clerk of council, would like to read.
Dear President and members of council, on April 12, 2022, council conducted a lengthy hearing and found that litter, i.e. garbage, waste, rubbish, paper, cartons, boxes, etc., has been placed at 1911 Crown Avenue, Norwood, Ohio, and has not been removed and constitutes a detriment to public health under Ohio Revised Code, Section 731.51. Following that hearing on April 12, 2022, the principal of the entity that owns that property was served with written notice, so notifying her of the finding and that she had 15 days to collect and remove the litter. At the time of the writing of this letter, 22 days have now elapsed since that notice was served. Some of the litter has been removed, but not all. Pursuant to Ohio Revised Code Section 731.53, if the owner fails to comply with such a notice, council shall cause such litter to be removed and may employ the necessary labor to perform the task. Under Ohio Revised Code Section 731.54, the cost of such removal can be entered as a lien on the property. I am requesting that council make a determination at your regular meeting on May 10th, 2022, as to whether the litter has been removed. If it has not, please pass a motion requesting the Safety Service Director to hire a refuse removal firm to clean up the property at the earliest possible opportunity. I understand from the Norwood City Auditor that there are more than sufficient funds available in the Public Lands and Buildings Contractual Key. Thank you for your time and attention. Sincerely, Keith D. Moore, Law Director.
Thank you, Mrs. Gears. Mr. Gears. Mrs. Hammock, would you like to come forward?
I need a copy of this letter.
Please come forward, state your name and address, and then you'll have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
I will need a copy of this letter, please. We'll remember we had meeting in here on the 12th, and I did address you issues. Bully issue, this case is actually bully issue, it's extortion case. Every time I'm trying to move my stuff, every time I'm trying to clean my yard, I've been bullied by people who complaining about my yard. People who complaining about my yard, they've been dumping stuff on my yard. I sent several letters with audio recordings when they calling on a truck complaining, and even file false complaints with the police several times. Every time I try to clean my yard, they try and bully, they try and pick up the fight. So this case, it's not about trash, it's about trash living next door to me. Like Mr. Metz, what is your last name, my dear?
Mine,
Yeah,
Kelch.
Kelch, okay. Mr. Kelch said on the last meeting, oh, I saw this before, it's gonna be back again. Yes, to have people like this, first and foremost, they getting full support from you, from police, and from Norwood prosecutor. I was here to request an extension, and it was on the 27th or 26th when was last meeting was here. And Mr. Moore pulled me in the back. I was spoken to him. And I told him, Mr. Moore, you know, this is harassment case, this is a bully case, and this is extortion case. They try and force me out of my home. He's saying, yes, I know, ha ha ha. He knows, everybody knows. And when I was set garbage on my curb, they was complaining garbage on the curb. I set them on the curb, he throwing stuff back to my yard. I call police, they supporting them. So, how you want me fight all of you, police and bullies all together, because you guys supporting bullies? You guys telling me to clean my yard, but you okay, he throwing stuff over my fence? I sent you several pictures, do you ever got it? Anybody got pictures? Anybody got emails? So what do you think of that? You guys want me to clean my yard, but you okay with bullies? And every time I call police, I have to even concern about my safety. Because looks like they talk to you normal and they start gaslighting. I had police come twice to me to give me citation. Police come give me citation. So how you want me by myself fight all these things when it's supporting bullies? This is a bully case. So I need extension. You can drop this case right now. First and foremost, this is violation of my constitutional rights. First, 5th Amendment. You cannot do double jeopardy. I already was in court in Hamilton County when they found me guilty on criminal charges. If you guys was in rush, if Mr. Gary was in rush, if Moore was in rush to clean my yard, why I was in jail for 30 days? Why is it police come and give me ticket on my truck? Why is it police come and threaten me to give me ticket on a truck? They call on the truck all the time. It was people working on the street. They had parked truck against the grain. I haven't seen police flying in there and telling them we're going to tow in your truck. They targeted me. This is harassment bully case. I sent you audio when Gina, she was using a false name. She calling police. She calling police and saying garbage set before time, before they supposed to set. Police show up and she said, if you remember, I can play you audio if you want me to, because I sent everybody this audio recordings. And she said, this lady is Russian and she owned the home. Guess what? Police was there in 5 minutes. I guess it's like secret code. Russian and she owned the home. Police was there to give me citation. I told him, go away, I try and clean my yard. I've been harassed by police when I tried to clean my yard. So what you want me to do? What you want me to do? How you want me to get this done? Mr. Hoover, did you got email with recordings?
Mrs. Hammock, your 5 minutes to address council are up. Thank you very much. Please be seated. We have several other requests to address council this evening. The next one is Mr. Robert James.
Hello, Council. How are you? Good to see you guys again. So we are back. I'm Robert Boom Boom James, the owner of Boom Fitness Center down the street, 3850 Montgomery Road. And we are back again to talk to you guys about our 2-mile walk and run event for my birthday this Saturday on May 14th. A lot of you guys are already aware of it. A lot of you guys are already aware of it. So we definitely appreciate you guys coming out to support. Again, we will be going from registrations from 3 to 4. You want to tell this part?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, go ahead. Here. Start over.
Registration is totally free and is from 3 to 4. From 4 to 5, the walk will begin and we'll start at 3850. We'll be walking to the Norwood Fifth Third Bank and then walking back to 3850 Montgomery Road. And we're inviting everyone out to participate, be a part of it. It's just a way for us to show our gratitude to the city for being a part of the community, and also to get everybody aware of simple ways that you can get up and get active and just think about your health and your family's health as well, and do group activities together now that the world is opening up again. And you can even bring your fur loved ones because we're allowing pets as well. So we're hopeful that all of you will come out, be a part of it, join us and celebrate with us as we celebrate Mr. James' birthday. And also a chance for us to get out and try to get some steps in. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sydney Reeves. I'm a part of Boom Fitness Center. I want to address just, like Ms. Williams said, getting up and getting active. As we approach summer, the weather's changing. We want to use the weather in the nice city of Norwood to, just celebrate getting healthy. And I have done that myself. Like I mentioned last time, Boom is bettering one's overall movement, and just a simple hour walk run 2-mile event on Saturday is a way to do that approaching summer again. Bring your friends, your family, your pets, anyone that's able to walk, or just join us for the cookout and celebration of Boom afterwards, and bring your water to stay hydrated, and yeah.
Also, I would like to address another one of our athletes and fighters, Miss Leslie DuPont. I also want to acknowledge my father, Bishop Sonny James. Everybody, thanks to him. But yeah, is there anything council want to kind of add while we have 2 minutes and 30 seconds? If not, I can talk plenty more.
I don't know if you said the address.
So it's 3550, and what's up, Chris? What's up, buddy?
How you doing, bro?
Yeah, so 3850 Montgomery Road is the address, and again, we really want to talk to you guys. I know it's super ambitious, but we want to talk to you guys about the Norwood Boom Day. So that's something that I know it's super short notice. We mentioned it last week. I know we definitely want the petition, just food for thought. I know we won the Gym of the City award a couple months back now, and so I'm very grateful for that, and we definitely want to keep that momentum going and keep the ball rolling. Again, just getting people healthy, letting them know that we're here. We do everything from boxing, wrestling, Muay Thai, women's self-defense, weight loss. Miss Williams lost over 100 pounds herself, and this is what we do. So I definitely appreciate you guys coming out. Again, bring your little fur animals with you. Cats, dogs. If you want to put a cat on a leash, if that's your thing, do that. But we'd love for you guys to come out. Again, from 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock is registration. From 4 to 5 is the walk, starting from my gym, 3850 Montgomery Road, going down to the Fifth Third right here in Surrey, across from Surrey Square, and then headed back to the gym. Immediately following that, from 5 to 7 will be the cookout. And again, we'll have the stage set up there, the podium. You guys can feel free to make your remarks if you have some promotions going on, such as things at the library. We'd love for you to announce that and just keep Norwood together. So we definitely appreciate you guys, and I did it with a minute to spare. Appreciate you guys. All right.
Thank you very much.
Blessings.
Thank you. Next request is Bishop Sonny James. Bishop James.
Well, to God be the glory. I should have came up with a minute left to talk about that event. Amen. So I wouldn't have to take from my 5. But let me first of all just thank those that were involved. When I came in today and I saw Pastor K.Z. Smith's name on the agenda, the first thing I said is, wow. Now that's what I'm talking about, shortcake. So whoever, however, that's what I'm talking about. Just including folk, getting people involved. Ron Murphy was honored here tonight, and listen, guys, we've got some people that are really committed to this community. And as God transitions some people on into retirement or whatever, He's ushering in new people. And so we want to honor all of our residents, young and old. On June the 10th, my youngest son, Lemuel, will be coming back from boot camp from Paris Island for 10 days before he ships back off to do more, I guess, military or Marine police training, because he hasn't given up on his dream for coming back and representing his fine community of Norwood and as a police officer. So on that following day, I believe on the 11th, I'll get more information to you. We really would like to just have a brief parade, just to celebrate a young man he's been like some of your children. He's been a part of the community. I'm so excited that my eldest son just blowing me away, doing wonderful things. And I can't wait for the future to come when both of my sons and my 10-year-old daughter really step up and to fill some of the positions that you all fill, and prayerfully one day that seat there that is occupied by our mayor. And so I'm excited to just be a part of their lives. I am concerned when I hear the phrase harassment and bullying, because most of you know that more than any citizen in the entire city of Norwood, no one understands how the status quo in our community has a reputation of ganging up. But this woman isn't me. And so I understand why she would be concerned about neighbors or whoever. The difference with me is I don't back down to bullies. I don't encourage them, and we stamp them out. So after the last time we were here, I talked to my attorney, and he asked me what I want to do about it. And like the young boys on the block, they say, don't talk about it, be about it. And so, not knowing her whole story, and we obviously all can see as residents that there is a story there, and who's right, who's wrong. We want our community to be beautiful. So I'll be in touch with the law department to make sure I'm clear on those deadlines so that my attorney and a group of folks can come here to help so that the city doesn't have to go through any financial issues of cleaning up this property. And that way the city won't have to pay anybody to do so. That she has come and she's made her thing known, and so I'm letting her know now that when you see a bunch of folk that look like me in your yard, we're not there to harass you, and we're not going to throw any extra trash on your ground. And to the neighbors, if you're not coming out to help pick up some trash, please stay inside. If you come out with a smile and come out greeting your fellow neighbors with a hello. Guys, I just told the minister today, and I'm really so excited and pleased with some of the changes that I'm seeing in my community. I really am. And I'll be honest with you, it starts with people like you and I. None of us are perfect, guys. All of us make mistakes. But I'm about solutions. So one thing, when we talk about the parade, okay, if I don't have all the stuff in place, one of you call me and say, hey, Bishop, we need to get this in place. Or why don't you call me and say, hey, Bishop, I helped put this in place so that we can honor Lemuel. or when we do the events, if there's something we need, come to us and say, hey, boom, you're going to need this or you're going to need that. Here it is for you. I went out of my way to help get it done. Let's keep moving our community in a great direction. I am pleased with Norwood, the direction we're going in. And let's just keep it up, guys. God bless you all. And those treats that the youth are making, I got to get you some of them because they're going to knock your socks off. These young kids are going in business. God bless you all.
Thank you, Bishop James. That concludes our request to address council. Yeah. Regarding Law Director Keith Moore's letter, do we have a motion?
Couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I couldn't hear you, sorry.
Mr. Thompson.
I would motion that we request the Safety Service Director to hire a refuse removal firm to clean up the property at their earliest possible opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. May I have a second? Mr. Kelch.
Second.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, motion passes. Moving on to item J, third reading of ordinances and resolutions. J1, resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve then and now certificates from the Norwood Fire Department 7,300 and 7,200 keys to cover the cost of 2022 invoices from Bethesda, Care, TriHealth, and Atomic Decals and Design LLC, not to exceed $3,032, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Thompson.
Move we have the final reading of this ordinance,
Motion by Mr.
or
Thompson.
resolution, sorry.
To have the third reading. Mrs. Franzen.
And second.
Second by Mrs. Franzen. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye. May we have the third reading?
Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve then and now certificates from the Norwood Fire Department 7300 and 7200 keys to cover the cost of 2022 invoices from Bethesda Care, TriHealth, and Atomic Decals and Designs LLC, not to exceed $3,032, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Kelch.
Make a motion we pass this.
Motion by Mr. Kelch to pass. Mrs. Winterbauer.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Winterbauer. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the resolution passes. Moving on to item K, second reading of ordinances and resolutions. K1, ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and to enter into a contract for the renovations to improve ADA accessibility of the Norwood Recreation Center and declaring an emergency. Mr. Thompson.
Move we suspend the rules and have the last two readings of this ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Thompson to suspend the rules and have the second and third reading. Mr. Braden?
Second.
Second by Mr. Braden. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye. The motion passes. May we have the second and third reading?
Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and to enter into a contract for renovations to improve ADA accessibility of the Norwood Recreation Center and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids and to enter into a contract for renovations to improve ADA accessibility of the Norwood Recreation Center and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Braden.
Motion to pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Braden to pass the ordinance. Mrs. Winterbauer.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Winterbauer. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the ordinance passes. Moving on to item K2, ordinance approving a vehicle leasing and replacement program with Enterprise Fleet Management Incorporated and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into an agreement related to the same and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Franzen.
I move we suspend the rules and have the second and third readings.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to suspend the rules and have the second, third reading. Mrs. Royce.
Second the motion.
Second by Ms. Royce. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
All members present, voting aye, the motion passes. May we have the second and third reading?
Ordinance approving a vehicle leasing and replacement program with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc., and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into agreement related to the same and declaring an emergency. Ordinance approving a vehicle leasing and replacement program with Enterprise Fleet Management, Inc., and authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into agreement related to the same and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mrs. Franzen.
I motion we pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to pass the ordinance. Ms. Royce.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Ms. Royce. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the ordinance passes. Moving on to item K3, ordinance adopting a capitalization policy for the city of Norwood, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Mr. Thompson.
Move we have the second, or suspend the rules and have the second, third reading of this ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Thompson to suspend the rules and have a second and third reading. Mrs. Hoover.
I second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Mrs. Winterbauer.
Just one quick question. Questions directed at you, Mr. Stith, for this in the letter? I just had a question. There wasn't any useful lives or in the years identified for the water and utility systems. I didn't know.
Is that Mr. Stith you're
Yeah,
asking a
yeah,
question?
yeah.
Mr. Stith?
Yeah, I actually, thank you. And it's Stith.
Stith, sorry, I get it.
Like Smith,
back and
you're
forth.
fine. Not the first time. In looking at this structure, this is basically what's recommended by the Auditor of State. And if we're putting in something for the water, we're not going to put in a useful life for it.
Okay.
Some of these are how you break down the depreciation over time and how you break that down and depreciate it. And from my understanding, the water doesn't have one.
Okay.
But this is something that was put together by the committee to come up with what thresholds we report repairs to the system.
Yeah.
So if you're buying a single water meter, it doesn't meet that threshold. It's only when you're doing things of greater than $10,000 that then that creates something that's reportable and managed by us.
Okay.
Everything less than that amount is managed by a different tracking system. So we know what we own, but we don't have to depreciate a shovel.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stipp. Thank you, Mrs. Winterbauer. Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the motion passes. May we have the second and third reading, Mr. Gears?
Ordinance adopting a capitalization policy for the city of Norwood, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance adopting a capitalization policy for the city of Norwood, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Braden.
Thank you, Mr. President. Motion to pass the ordinance, please.
Motion by Mr. Braden to pass the ordinance. Mr. Kelch.
Second?
Second by Mr. Kelch. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the ordinance passes. Moving on to K4, ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a government aggregation master retail natural gas supply agreement with AEP Energy Incorporated for a maximum of 24-month term, provided the accepted rate is below the current Duke Energy Ohio gas cost recovery rate, and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Franzen.
I move we suspend the rules and have the second and third readings.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to suspend the rules and have the second and third reading. Mrs. Hoover.
I second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the motion passes. May we have the second and third reading, Mr. Gears?
Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a government aggregation master retail natural gas supply agreement with AEP Energy, Inc. for a maximum of a 24-month term, provided the accepted rate is below the current Duke Energy Ohio gas cost recovery rate, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to enter into a government aggregation master retail natural gas supply agreement with AEP Energy, Inc. for a maximum of a 24-month term, provided the accepted rate is below the current Duke Energy Ohio gas cost recovery rate, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Braden.
Movement to pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Braden to pass the ordinance. Ms. Royce.
Second.
Second by Ms. Royce. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the ordinance passes. Moving on to item K5, a resolution recognizing the month of May 2022 as Monarch Butterfly Month in the city of Norwood, Ohio. Mrs. Franzen.
I move we have the second and third readings of
Motion
this
by Ms.
resolution and suspend the rules.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to suspend the rules and have the second and third reading. Mrs. Winterbauer.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Winterbauer. Any discussion? Mrs. Franzen.
Yeah, and not discussion so much as clarification. I forgot that this Saturday is Xavier's graduation, along with all the other stuff going on. And I have students that are graduating, so I'm going to have a Monarch, not lunch and learn, snack and learn at the Williams Community Garden. Talk about native plant stuff. It'll be at 1 p.m. at that community garden. There will be local honey provided by my bees, as well as cheese and crackers, and I'm going to raffle off 2 milkweed plants that I bought for people. So if you want to come, bring your friends, bring your kids and pets, just clean up your dog poop. Jeannie was very particular about that. So yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Franzen. Anyone else? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the motion passes. May we have the second and third reading, Mr. Gears?
A resolution recognizing the month of May 2022 as Monarch Butterfly Month in the city of Norwood, Ohio. A resolution recognizing the month of May 2022 as Monarch Butterfly Month in the city of Norwood, Ohio.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Ms. Franzen.
I move we pass the resolution.
Motion by Mrs. Franzen to pass the resolution. Mrs. Hoover.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, the resolution passes. All members present voting aye, the resolution passes. Moving on to K6, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Norwood, Ohio to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund program and to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency. Mr. Thompson.
Move we suspend the rules and have the final 2 readings of this order or resolution.
Motion by Mr. Thompson to suspend the rules and have the second and third reading. Mrs. Winterbauer.
Second?
Second by Mrs. Winterbauer. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye. Resolution passes.
Second, third reading.
Yeah.
We'll do that next.
There's been a lot.
It's a long day.
He works hard.
A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Norwood, Ohio, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund programs and to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency. A resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director of the City of Norwood, Ohio, to prepare and submit an application to participate in the Transit Infrastructure Fund programs and to execute contracts as required and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Braden.
Thank you, Mr. President. A resolution, motion to pass the resolution, please.
Motion to pass the resolution by Mr. Braden. Ms. Franzen.
A second.
Second by Mrs. Franzen. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye. Resolution passes. Moving on to introductory readings of ordinances, resolutions. L1, ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Norwood Police Wage and Bargaining Committee consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Winterbauer.
Motion to suspend the rules and have all three readings?
Motion by Mrs. Winterbauer to suspend the rules and have all three readings. Mrs. Hoover.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the motion passes. May we have all three readings?
Ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Norwood Police Wage and Bargaining Committee consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Norwood Police Wage and Bargaining Committee, consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the Norwood Police Wage and Bargaining Committee, consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from January 1, 2022 through December 31, 2024, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Braden.
Motion to pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mr. Braden to pass the ordinance. Mr. Kelch.
Second.
Second by Mr. Kelch. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the ordinance passes. Moving on to item L2, ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, AFSCME, Local Union Number 914, and Ohio Council 8, consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from March 1st, 2022 through February 28th, 2025, and declaring an emergency. Mrs. Hoover.
I move we suspend the rules and have all three readings.
Motion by Mrs. Hoover to suspend the rules and have all three readings. Ms. Royce.
I'll second the motion.
Second by Ms. Royce. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen.
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover.
Yes.
Ms. Royce.
Yes.
Mr. Kelch.
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer.
Yes.
Mr. Thompson.
Yes.
Mr. Braden.
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the motion passes. Mr. Gears.
Ordinance authorizing the mayor and safety service director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, AFSCME, Local Union Number 914, and Ohio Council 8, consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from March 1, 2022 through February 28, 2025, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Mayor and Safety Service Director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, AFSCME, Local Union Number 914, and Ohio Council 8, consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from March 1, 2022 through February 28, 2025, and declaring an emergency. Ordinance authorizing the Mayor and Safety Service Director to enter into a collective bargaining agreement with the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFL-CIO, AFSCME, Local Union Number 914, and Ohio Council 8, consistent with the terms of the attached Exhibit A for the period from March 1, 2022 through February 28, 2025, and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Ms. Royce?
Motion to pass the ordinance.
Motion by Mrs. Royce to pass the ordinance. Ms. Hoover.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce?
Yes.
Mr. Kelch?
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Braden?
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye. The ordinance passes. Moving on to item M, administrative reports. Mayor Schneider.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm sorry I came in a little bit late.
Wait a second.
Oh, sorry. We got a 4, right?
We did add L4.
Dang it.
Then and now. Then and now.
I did that on purpose.
Here.
Then and
Item L4, resolution authorizing the city auditor approve a then and now certificate from the Recreation Contractual Fund 1001-1050-57200 to pay the cost of an invoice from the Brockman Signs Incorporated for $130 and declaring an emergency. Mr. Thompson.
I would move we suspend the rules and have all 3 readings.
Motion by Mr. Thompson to suspend the rules and have all 3 readings. Mr. Braden.
Second.
Second by Mr. Braden. Any discussion? Mr. Thompson.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mr. Stitt to explain, I guess, just briefly the difference between this then and now and the one that we passed earlier.
Mr. Stitt.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. This was an invoice from something that was done in, I believe, September or August of last year. At that time, there was a change in the management of recreation, and the PO was either closed out or wasn't filed. And now it comes back to us from a vendor months later, more than 6 months later, saying, well, we're still owed this money. This work was done. There's a new department head there that's trying to deal with it. But since it's so old and it crosses a year and goes back to really third quarter of last year, this is something that we felt more comfortable in talking with the state that council would authorize. If this had come to me as something that was filed in December, late December or January, I would have just authorized the payment of this then and now myself. But given the age and how far back into 2021 it was, the Auditor of State just requested that council do that. But this work was done, and we should get this guy paid.
Thank you, Mr. Stitt. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce?
Yes.
Mr. Kelch?
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Braden?
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye, the motion passes.
Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Recreation Contractual Fund 1001-1050-57200 to pay the cost of an invoice from Brockman Signs, Inc. for $130 and declaring an emergency. Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Recreation Contractual Fund 1001-1050-57200 to pay the cost of an invoice from Brockman Signs, Inc. for $130 and declaring an emergency. Resolution authorizing the city auditor to approve a then and now certificate from the Recreation Contractual Fund 1001-1050-57200 to pay the cost of an invoice from Brockman Signs, Inc. for $130 and declaring an emergency.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mr. Braden?
Motion to pass the resolution.
Motion by Mr. Braden to pass the resolution. Ms. Royce?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Ms. Royce. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce?
Yes.
Mr. Kelch?
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Braden?
Yes, sir.
All members present, voting aye, the resolution passes. Moving on to item M, administrative reports. Mayor Schneider.
Okay, I'm a little gun shy now. Important part of running the city is having good union contracts, having the employees and the staff under the right contracts. And the safety service director and the HR director did a great job working with the unions to get these in place. The police, fire, public works, and the clerks unions all are now, with your approval now, will be taken care of it. And that sets things in action for the financial recovery plan. One of the reasons why the Financial Recovery Commission has had reservations is because we didn't have things finalized. So with this, the information will go to Jim Stith. The auditor works through putting this together, and we've got a good financial recovery plan with these actions that you've taken, and I appreciate that, and I thank all of you for that. So there are different projects are going on, and I've said it before. 562 is basically the Norwood lateral, right? That's going to be repaved and refurbished. There's going to be a lot of work done to that in the upcoming years. It needs it. We've driven on it. It's necessary. Clint has worked diligently to get lights on. We've got a lot of lights back on 562, so on a dark, stormy night, it's not so dark and stormy. We're working on some drainage issues with the ODOT. So there's a lot of improvements that are going to be made to the Norwood lateral. They just had the major cleanup. Hopefully you've seen that. We also, with last year's council, approved a slope mower, so we've got capacity and capabilities to do some mowing to try to clear up some things there. So 562 is going to really be looking different over the next few years. 561 is Smith Road and runs over to Carthage, sort of X's through. That's going to be repaved in the next year. That's another state route that'll be repaved. And then finally, 22 and 3 will be repaved in 2024 is when the pavement will go on. But we have a lot of improvements that will take place in 2023, just next year. And it seems like we're talking about years away when we say 23 and 24, but it's right around the corner. We're working on trying to get together the pedestrian safety improvements. This was part of what ODOT put together last year, was a pedestrian safety survey, a study, an engineering study really, of what's the pedestrian safety challenges on Montgomery Road. We'll be working on that and trying to incorporate that into the repaving. Remember, it's been 20 years since they paved State Route 22 and 3. It's been 20 years. And we have a small window to make improvements to our pedestrian safety, so we're going to try to incorporate that. Elm Avenue, we're making progress on that. I remember when we started talking about that, we said that's going to be a long process also. We've got some engineering plans. There's been a lot of upfront work done that's been completed now, and we'll continue to move forward with that. So there's a lot of good projects going on. Resurfacing is going on. There's a couple of different streets that are being resurfaced right now, new curbs and different things going on. So a lot of improvements, and you'll see continued improvements as summer hits. Clint's got a full agenda of just items that not only will our service guys be working on, public works, but also the contractors out there. So there's a lot going on. You also approved going out to bid for some ADA improvements to the recreation center, much needed. Those will be improvements that will make it more accessible to all of our citizens, and that's what we need. And that place has been such the staff, and they've operated it so well, and they're pulling people in, and it's doing great. So really proud of that. Ford's Garage opened up here recently. I don't know if you've had a chance to go over there and even just drive past it. But they had the Greater Cincinnati Model T, Model A Ford Club there and had like 35, 40 of these old cars there. It's incredible to see. There's one person that works in the city of Norwood that lives in Madeira that's driving a Model T into, I think, School Outfitters is where he works, but it's his daily driver. And he's driving it back and forth to work every day. It's neat to see, you know. I give him a wave all the time when I see him. They'll wave back. It's good. And then two other things that we have. Two community members, we'll probably announce it at the next meeting, but two community members have reached the highest level of rank and commitment to, for one is an American Heritage Girl, and the other one is Boy Scout of America. So meeting the highest rank, so we're gonna do some proclamations and different things like that, but really wanted to mention that that's coming down the pike too. So there's a lot going on, a lot of hard work getting done. There's a lot of mowing taking place. There's a lot work. I mean, that Public Works Department is hopping busy right now and doing a pretty good job staying up on it. So that's my whole report.
Thank you, Mayor Schneider. Any questions or comments for Mayor Schneider? Anyone?
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stipp? Nothing this evening? Thank you, sir. Moving on to item N, unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business? Mr. Kelch?
I think, Mr. President, I think this is the appropriate section of the meeting for it since it's still ongoing. So there was talk and an email sent out about going digital and all that stuff. I did reply all to it, asking if we've considered, you know, instead of having us use our personal devices, whether it be at phone or laptop. You know, there's some people that have no problem doing it. I personally don't want to use mine. I use it for school, and it's pretty important to me to have it available for school. So I don't want to transport it or put any extra mileage on it if necessary. Just wondering if we've looked into the cost to buy ThinkPads or tablets or something of that sort for council members,
Yes.
like the Board of Education does.
Yeah, Mrs. Grandusky is looking into that. I think she's already reached out, so I think when we get that, we can forward that to everyone, and we can even put it in the committee of the whole when we have our committee of the whole meeting, which I'd like to try and have next week if everyone's in town.
Awesome.
So we can put that on there. No? Oh, you're not in town. Okay, well then we'll talk. Oh, that's right.
That's right.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I wasn't aware of that, and I mean, I support going paperless, but I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing and providing those things so we're all together on it, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other unfinished business? Anyone else? Then we'll go on to new business. Ms. Frenzy.
Okay, I've got a couple things. I've been asked by the administration to try to hold a public meeting for infrastructure to talk about pedestrian access on Montgomery Road. So there was
Safety.
pedestrian safety, I apologize. Pedestrian safety, it is different on Montgomery Road. So I was in the ODOT meeting this morning, talked about some slight changes to timelines, but one of the things that we would really want to do is make sure that we get input from the public about how this Montgomery Road project is going to look. So next week, I was hoping to hold it on Wednesday at either 5:30 or 6:30. I didn't know if fellow committee members had any preferences on time. I can do either.
30 is too early for me.
Okay, that's what I thought. So 6:30 it is. And I had checked, and the people who will have the drawings and the renderings will be available on that Wednesday. So they will be there. That's something that we can try to do outreach to get people to come if they want to talk about what they want to see and get their opinions on the potential changes. I'll also be talking about some other resident concerns that I've received regarding infrastructure, including Dr. Joy McGee, who lives on Sheridan, whose house has been run into twice by a car, which just seems horrible luck. So she was wanting to know about what kind of concrete barriers or other types of areas we might be looking into to prevent her house being run into a third time. It's currently under construction, and she is not living there. I went and took pictures, and yeah, that person did not even break. There were no skid marks, so it's bad. It was in December of 2021. I know you know her.
So it happened, that would be the third time then?
That's the third time? Well, multiple times. multiple times of having a car run into her house. It's Sheridan, the T intersection where that road,
Wakefield
thank you, runs in. So another resident had issues with sidewalks, which I had talked to Mr. Powers about previously. Figure we can talk about that a little bit and see if there's been any updates on Slane Avenue. And the other thing was bike infrastructure. Yes. So right now, obviously, with Wasson Way and the bike trails in Cincinnati getting a lot of good funding, a lot of momentum. In the past, the railroad, the Norfolk and Southern Rail spur that goes through Millcrest, it has been declared defunct for decades at this point. I feel, based on some residents' input, that it might be worth going forward trying to get some ownership changes and then partnering with Wasson Way and other biking infrastructure grant-seeking organizations to get it connected to Wasson Way. I think it would improve access to Ward 1, make it a lot safer for people who are coming from the high school to get onto the big bike trail. Having biked from Starlight Donuts down to Wasson Way, it is not particularly fun to go down on Montgomery Road, and if I was a younger person, I would not like to do it at all. So that's something that I feel, if the administration wants to support that, that would be great, and I would love to move forward with it, but I want to make sure that we have the support of both council and the administration before I reach out and try to get the ball rolling on that. So that's me.
Actually, in our last council, representatives from Watson Way came and talked to us about that particular bit
Yes.
of connector. So it's on their radar, so they'll know about it when we reach out.
Yeah, I've been talking to Jay Andress, who's on the committee, and then Donna in the past had dealings with Norfolk and Southern. So she has graciously volunteered to help, again, reach out to the appropriate people and be a connector with that.
Thank you, Mrs. Franzen. Any other new business? Mrs. Hoover?
Yes, I want to call a housing committee meeting. I finally was able to meet with Kristen Baker from LISC and Liz Bloom with Community Building with Xavier, who did our housing action plan. So want to meet and actually start creating the plan. There it gets loud again. Wanted to see if Wednesday, June the 1st at 5 or 6 would work for folks.
Yes.
Nods. John, you're on housing.
Grandpa Braden over there.
Yeah, that should work. That should work.
Does 5 work for you?
5 o'clock?
That'd be awesome. We could do 5 p.m.
Okay.
on
Wednesday, June 1st.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Hoover. Anyone else? I would like to schedule a committee of the whole, but you're on next week, so maybe the week of the 23rd. We have a meeting on the 24th, but I think prior to that meeting, you have a meeting scheduled, Mrs. Hoover? Is that correct?
Correct. The law committee is meeting at 6:30.
6:30.
On what day?
The 24th of May. But maybe, do you want to talk about maybe moving the law committee to the following week, or? I could do Thursday, the June 2nd. Or
6:30, 7:30.
on which day?
You've already scheduled your law at 6:30 on May 24th, the committee will hold 7. 7:30.
No, we got
We have
Council.
we have council meeting at 7:30.
Regular council.
Oh, is that, I'm sorry.
So were you thinking about changing that?
Could folks do Thursday, June the 2nd for the law committee?
And then we can do committee of the whole
And committee of the whole on
at
the other
6:30,
day?
yeah, on the 24th?
Yeah.
Okay, and then I'll send out the agenda. We'll just have
Okay.
a couple items on that. Does that work?
So, sorry,
So
June the 2nd at 6:30, we'll do the law committee.
Then we'll have committee of the whole, May 24th, 6:30.
Thank you.
And I'll send out an email. Anything else, Mrs. Hoover?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, all right. Anyone else have new business? Then we'll move on to communications. Mr. Gears.
This is regarding the liquor license for Lay Economica. This was sent to the Treasurer's Office, Water Department, Law Department, Police Department. They had no response. Fire Department stated the location is compliant with fire code regulation and inspections. There was no opposition from the Norwood Fire Department regarding the issuance of the license. Building Department states that the Building Department is in strong opposition to this liquor license. Supermercado, the grocery store at 4357 Montgomery Road, has expanded into the corner space 4359 Montgomery Road without permits for the occupancy, the hood, or the signage. The Building Department was the only one to submit an objection.
Mrs. Hoover.
I have a question, I believe, to Mr. Moore. I just wanted to confirm that we can ask for a 30-day extension to allow them time to get into compliance
Mr. Moore.
without losing their license.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will say this, zoning is not a valid basis to challenge, and there are some other things that are not, but are times that the city has filed an objection and it's been a spur to the owner to actually do something about it. My understanding is they are rushing through plans for the expansion with the building department, and they're working to try to get it resolved as soon as, to take care of it as soon as possible. So the council's got 3 out. One, they can we're not going to make any objection, that's fine with us. 2 is to file an objection, and once the building department is worked out, then we can withdraw our objection before they might ever hold a hearing. I don't know what their schedule is now. And 3rd, yes, from what I understand, we can have the clerk send a letter asking for a 30-day extension for council to think about it, or to investigate, or however you want to make it sound like you're doing something important. But yeah, you can ask for an extension from the Ohio Liquor Control Board and say, yeah, we'd like another month to think about this before we let you know whether we're going to object.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Any other questions, Mrs. Hoover?
No, sir, thank you.
Mr. Brady.
Thank you, Mr. President. Where's this located at? I know I got the address. Tell me where it's at. Is it up here?
Corner of Montgomery and
Cortland.
Portland.
Yeah, catty corner from Chipotle.
I would say, I would probably just recommend us receive and file and without objections, and let others object if they have objections. So, because I don't personally have any objections to this. I don't know if anybody else has personal objections. So I would recommend we just pass this, receive and file it without objections. So that would be my recommendation to you guys. Thank you.
Are you making a motion, Mr. Brady?
I will make a motion. Sure, thank you, Mr. President. I'll make a motion to receive and file without objection.
Motion by Mr. Braden to receive and file without objection. Mr. Kelch?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kelch. Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce?
Yes.
Mr. Kelch?
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Braden?
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye. The motion passes. Item P2, New City Presbyterian Church. Mr. Gears.
Dear members of Norwood City Council, based on community feedback, New City Presbyterian Church, located at 4400 Floral Avenue, Norwood, Ohio 45212, would like to withdraw their request for a zone change. We will proceed with the current designation of R2. Please let us know if you need anything further. Sincerely, W. Brian Ferry, Jr., Executive Pastor.
Thank you, Mr. Gears. Mrs. Winterbauer.
Motion to receive and file?
Motion to receive and file by Mrs. Winterbauer. Mrs. Hoover.
I'll second.
Second by Mrs. Hoover. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce?
Yes.
Mr. Kelch?
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Braden?
Yes, sir.
All members present voting aye. The motion passes. Mr. Gears has informed me, but we also need to cancel the public hearing. Correct, sir?
Correct.
Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think you can just say we're canceling the public hearing. It wasn't set by motion of council, the date and everything. I mean, so it's just, you just call it. You just put it on the agenda.
We're canceling the public hearing.
There won't be a public hearing since they've withdrawn their application.
All right. Great, thank you, Mr. All members are present, so we move to item R, adjournment. May I have a motion for adjournment? Mr. Kelch.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Kelch. May I have a second? Mrs. Winterbauer.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Winterbauer. Please call the roll.
Mrs. Franzen?
Yes.
Mrs. Hoover?
Yes.
Ms. Royce?
Yes.
Mr. Kelch?
Yes.
Mrs. Winterbauer?
Yes.
Mr. Thompson?
Yes.
Mr. Braden?
Yes, sir.
All members voting aye. The motion passes. We're adjourned.
Thank you.